See, there are certain things people buy thinking they're making smart financial moves, but in reality, these things are keeping them broke. And the worst part, most of the time, they don't even realize it. Social media makes it worse. You see someone on Instagram posting their brand new car, their dream house, their luxury vacation, and suddenly you start feeling like, man, I should be living like that too. You start convincing yourself, I deserve it, I work hard, I should be living like that. Next thing you know, you're spending money you don't have to keep up with people who are probably broke themselves. But here's the problem. A lot of the people flexing online, they're drowning in debt. They don't own that luxury car, the bank does. That perfect vacation probably paid for with a credit card. The big fancy house might be one missed paycheck away from foreclosure. And you know what happens? Regular people see that, they feel behind, and they start making the same mistakes. And if you don't recognize it, you'll spend your whole life making payments instead of making progress. So today, I'm breaking down 10 purchases that are keeping people poor. Some of these might surprise you, and you might even be guilty of a few. But don't worry, it's never too late to start making smarter money moves. So if you're interested in this, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Flourish in Wealth, where financial freedom begins. All right, let's start with one of the biggest financial traps people fall into, a house. And I know. Everybody says buying a house is the smart thing to do. It's the American dream, right? Stop renting, build equity, own your own place. But here's what nobody tells you. A house can keep you broke if you're not careful. See, most people don't just buy a house. They buy the biggest house the bank approves them for. And that's a problem. Because just because the bank says you can afford it doesn't mean you actually can. Think about it. You get approved for a $500,000 mortgage, and instead of asking, do I really need to spend that much? You're out here looking at houses right at the top of your budget, maybe even stretching it a little. You convince yourself it's fine, I'll make it work. But then reality hits. That big, beautiful house comes with big, ugly expenses. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, council rates. The AC goes out, that's on you. Roof needs fixing, that's on you. And if you thought a mortgage was bad, wait until you see how much you're spending just to keep the place running. And guess what? If all your money is tied up in your house, you're what they call house poor. You're living in a nice place, but you have no extra money for investments, no money to actually enjoy life, and sometimes not even enough to handle emergencies without going into debt. All because almost all your income is going towards your mortgage. Meanwhile, the bank doesn't care. They'll gladly let you sign up for 30 years of debt. They're getting paid regardless. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying owning a home is always bad, but if you go too big too fast, without really thinking about the long-term costs, that dream home can turn into a financial nightmare real quick. And let's be real. A house isn't a real asset unless it's making you money. If you're house poor, meaning your mortgage is eating up all your cash, you don't own your house. Your house owns you. Purchase number 2, a brand new car. A new car smells good, it looks good. The shiny paint, the smooth ride, it makes you feel like you've made it. But financially, it's one of the dumbest things you can spend money on. The second you drive that car off the lot, it loses 20 to 30% of its value. Meanwhile, you're stuck with monthly payments, higher insurance costs, and maintenance fees that only go up over time. And don't let Instagram fool you. Most people showing off their luxury cars, they're financing them. They don't own that car, the bank does. Car dealerships know exactly how to play the game. They'll tell you it's only $600 a month. And guess what? That's how they trap people. You start thinking, oh, $600 a month, I can manage that. But they don't tell you that after 5 or 6 years, you'll have paid way more than what the car was even worth, just in interest. And then what happens? A few years in, you start seeing newer models on the road. Your car doesn't feel as special anymore. The dealership calls saying, hey, we can get you into something newer with just a little more per month. And boom, you roll over your loan into a new one, and now you're stuck in another 5 or 6 years of payments. It's a cycle, guys. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life renting a car from the bank instead of actually owning one. I know we all need a car to get around, but do you really need the latest model? Or do you just need something reliable that gets you from point A to point B? The smartest move, buy used. Get something a few years old. Let someone else take that massive depreciation hit. And if you can, pay cash. No car payment, no stress. Just money in your pocket instead of money in the bank's pocket. Because at the end of the day, driving a flashy car feels good, but being financially free feels way better. Number 3, vacations on credit. Now, I love a good vacation just like anyone else, but borrowing money to take a trip, that's a terrible idea because vacations are a luxury, not a necessity. You ever been scrolling on Instagram or TikTok and see someone on a luxury vacation sipping some fancy drink by the beach, taking pictures in front of a 5-star resort? And for a second, you're like, man, I need a break. I deserve that. I work hard. And next thing you know, you're on a travel website looking up flights to some tropical island, telling yourself, I'll figure out the money later. That later usually means swiping a credit card, taking out a loan, or signing up for some buy now, pay later deal that sounds good in the moment. But it's going to haunt you for months, maybe even years. Because when you put a trip on credit, you're paying way more than just the price of the vacation. Once you add in interest, hidden fees, and all the little expenses that pop up along the way, that quick getaway ends up costing you double. And the worst part? The vacation lasts a week. The debt lasts way longer. You go on that trip, have a great time, post your pictures, and then boom, you're back to real life. Except now you've got a fat credit card bill waiting for you, and suddenly that vacation glow disappears real quick. I'm not saying don't travel. But if you can't afford to pay for the trip in full, upfront, without putting yourself in a financial hole, then you can't afford the trip. Simple as that. Instead of going into debt for vacations, save for them. Create a separate travel fund. Even if it takes longer, it's 1,000 times better than paying interest on a trip you already took. Because trust me, nothing kills vacation memories faster than getting hit with that credit card bill when you get home. 4. Constant home upgrades and decorations. TikTok and Instagram got people out here thinking they need a whole new aesthetic every year. New furniture, new decor, new kitchen appliances, all just to keep up with trends. Something I've noticed on TikTok and Instagram lately is this whole trend of making your house look like it belongs in a luxury magazine. You've probably seen it. People are out here pouring milk out of a perfectly good container into some fancy glass jar just because it looks better in the fridge. Or they're transferring juice into these aesthetic bottles just to make their kitchen vibe a certain way. Like, what is the point? The milk already came in a container. The juice already had a bottle. Why are we adding extra steps just to make it look good for social media? And that's just the small stuff. People are spending crazy money constantly upgrading their home decor. One month it's a new set of throw pillows. Next month it's an entire living room makeover because their aesthetic isn't giving anymore. And don't even get me started on these overpriced candles and decorative pieces that don't actually do anything. Here's the truth. This is a never-ending game. Trends change fast, and the moment you upgrade one thing, suddenly the rest of your house looks outdated. It's a trap. And guess who profits? The company's selling you all this stuff while you keep swiping your card, thinking you need it. Now, I'm not saying your house shouldn't look nice. Of course, you want a comfortable space. But there's a difference between maintaining a home and constantly throwing money at it. Because social media made you feel like yours isn't good enough. And here's the crazy part. People will go into debt for this, financing furniture, taking out loans just to renovate a kitchen that already works fine, buying designer home decor that costs more than some people's rent. All for what? So your house looks good for a 15-second Instagram story. If you're not careful, you'll end up house poor. The reality? Your home doesn't need to look like a Pinterest board. If what you have is functional, don't waste money replacing it just because a social media influencer told you to. Now I want to hear from you. Head to the comment section below and type, "I'm a smart spender." I'll be looking out for your comments. And if you're finding value in this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps the algorithm and it really supports the channel so I can keep bringing you more content like this. Let's get back to it. Number 5 is buying luxury items. Who doesn't love a little luxury? That designer bag, those fancy shoes, that high-end watch. It feels good, right? You walk into a room and people notice. You feel successful. You feel like you've made it. But here's the thing. Luxury brands are a trap. Designer bags, high-end watches, expensive shoes, all these things do is drain your money. Most of the time, people aren't buying these things because they truly need them or because they even love them. They're buying them to show other people they've got money. But the irony? A lot of people who flex luxury are actually broke. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone driving a luxury car but struggling to pay rent? Rocking a $1,000 bag but living paycheck to paycheck? It's because luxury brands aren't about wealth, they're about status. And status is expensive. Most luxury items don't appreciate in value. That designer handbag, the moment you walk out of the store, it's worth less. That $5,000 watch, unless it's some rare collector's piece, it's just another overpriced accessory. Now don't get me wrong. If you've built wealth, if you've handled your finances and you want to splurge a little, cool. But luxury should be a reward for financial success, not a substitute for it. If you're still struggling, if you don't have investments, if you're not financially secure yet, why are you dropping thousands just to impress strangers? Rich people don't waste money trying to look rich. They invest, they build, and then, when their money is actually working for them, Luxury becomes an afterthought, not a priority. Number 6, buying latest tech gadgets. A lot of people are guilty of this one. Every single year, a new iPhone drops, and suddenly your perfectly good phone feels outdated. Your camera still works, your apps still run fine, but then you start seeing those slick ads, the crystal clear display, the slightly better camera, the new features that you probably won't even use. And before you know it, you're convincing yourself that you need to upgrade. But do you really? Tech companies are masters at making you feel behind. They know exactly how to push your buttons. They roll out just enough upgrades to make your current phone feel ancient, but not enough to actually change your life. And let's not even talk about social media. You scroll through Instagram and you see influencers unboxing the latest MacBook, flexing their new iPad, showing off their massive monitor setup. Suddenly your laptop that works just fine feels like it belongs in a museum. The truth is, most people are going broke trying to keep up. A new iPhone costs what, over $1,000, and if you're financing it, that's another monthly bill eating away at your money. Multiply that by every new gadget you buy, and before you know it, you've spent thousands on things that will be outdated in just a couple of years. Now, I'm not saying don't buy tech at all, but buy it when you actually need it, not just because something new dropped. If your laptop is still running fine, why replace it? If your phone still works, why upgrade? Unless your job requires the latest tech, keep what you have until it stops working. Otherwise, you're just throwing money away. 7, buying cheap, low-quality items. Buying cheap feels like saving money, but in reality, it's costing you more in the long run. You see a $20 pair of shoes, you compare it with $80 ones, and you think, why spend more when I can get these for less? But here's what happens. You wear them for a couple of months, and boom, they fall apart. Now you got to buy another pair, and then another. And before you know it, you've spent way more than if you had just bought the quality ones in the first place. And it's not just shoes, it's everything. Cheap furniture, cheap appliances, cheap tools. You ever bought a cheap phone charger from a gas station? Works fine for a week, then suddenly it stops charging, or worse, it fries your phone. Now you're spending even more to fix the damage. This is what I call the buy twice trap. You think you're saving money, but really you're just setting yourself up to keep buying the same thing over and over again. And companies know this. That's why they make cheap products that barely last, so you have to keep replacing them. It's like they're tricking you into a never-ending cycle of spending. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy the most expensive thing every time, but there's a difference between cheap and affordable. Something that's affordable is a good balance between price and quality. It'll last, and you won't have to replace it constantly. Something that's cheap is just made to break so you can keep spending. If you're always replacing things, you're not being frugal. You're just stuck in a cycle that keeps you broke. Number 8, buying things just because they're on sale. A deal isn't a deal if you're spending money on things you don't need. How many times have you bought something just because it was on sale? You didn't actually need it. You weren't even thinking about it before. But the second you saw that big red discount tag, your brain went, wait a minute, I'd be stupid not to buy this. This is exactly how stores get you. They slap a 50% off sign on something and suddenly it feels like you're saving money when in reality, you're just spending money on something you didn't plan for. And guess what? It's not really a deal if you weren't going to buy it in the first place. That's not saving, it's impulse buying disguised as a smart financial move. Retailers know exactly what they're doing. Those limited time offers, those buy one, get one deals, those everything must go sales, they're designed to create a sense of urgency. They make you feel like if you don't buy it now, you're missing out. But here's the truth. Sales are always happening. That once-in-a-lifetime deal, it'll be back next season. That Black Friday price? Probably not that different from what it was a few months ago. The smartest shoppers don't fall for the hype. They buy things when they need them, not just because they're discounted. Stores want you to think you're saving money, but if you weren't planning to buy it in the first place, you're just wasting cash. Number 9, lottery tickets. The idea of winning big is exciting, but the odds, they're against you. Who doesn't dream of hitting that big jackpot, right? You're imagining a life where all your problems just disappear, and you're living it up in a mansion, driving a luxury car, never worrying about money again. Sounds pretty sweet, doesn't it? But here's the harsh truth. Playing the lottery is one of the worst financial habits you can get into. Here's why. Every time you buy a lottery ticket, you're literally throwing money away, and it's not just a one-time thing, it's a cycle. You might buy a ticket here and there, and it feels like it's not much, but let's be real, the odds of winning are so slim that it's almost a joke. The chance of you winning big is less than the chance of getting struck by lightning twice. Now let's look at what happens when you keep buying lottery tickets. You're basically setting up a habit of wasting money that could be better used elsewhere. You could be investing that same money, putting it towards savings, or better yet, starting something that actually has a chance of growing your wealth. But instead, you're hoping that one day, luck is going to pull you out of the grind. And here's the thing that people don't realize. When you start getting into the lottery habit, you're essentially setting yourself up to stay in the same financial place forever. You're betting on luck instead of on your own abilities and effort. It's the definition of short-term thinking. You're focused on instant gratification, hoping for a big payday that probably isn't going to come, rather than playing the long game and building real wealth through hard work and smart decisions. You know who gets rich from the lottery? The people running it, not the people playing it. If you're serious about financial success, invest your money, don't gamble it. Number 10, extravagant weddings and parties. Everyone wants their special day to be unforgettable. But there's a line, and way too many people cross it when it comes to weddings and big events. What's the point of having an over-the-top wedding that costs more than a house down payment? You know, the type of wedding where it feels more like a competition than a celebration. People are dropping tens of thousands of dollars on a one-day event. And when the day is over, what do you have to show for it? A bunch of pictures and a lifetime of debt. Now, don't get me wrong. Celebrating your marriage or any big occasion is important. But why do we feel the need to spend so much just to impress other people? A wedding is supposed to be about you and your partner, not about outshining the next couple or keeping up with unrealistic expectations from Pinterest boards. Let me ask you something. Would you rather have the best wedding photos ever? Or would you rather buy a house, start investing, or build your financial foundation? Because I've seen people drop crazy amounts on weddings, only to struggle for years afterward to catch up. And it's not just weddings. Think about birthday parties, graduation parties, or even baby showers. The same thing happens. People get so caught up in the idea of having the perfect event that they forget the long-term impact it can have on their finances. At the end of the day, a wedding or party should reflect who you are, not your bank account. You don't have to spend a fortune to make memories that last a lifetime. You want something meaningful? It's not about the fancy stuff. It's about the people you're with and the experiences you create. At the end of the day, guys, money isn't just about what you earn, it's about what you keep. If you can avoid these common traps, you'll be way ahead of most people. If you got value from this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. And make sure to check out my other video here for more money tips and ways to take control of your finances. You won't want to miss it.